Thank you. Mr. Gaetz is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Wallander, we're not sending the 82nd Airborne into Ukraine, right?
Correct.
And regime change in Russia is not the policy of the United States, is it?
Correct.
And God forbid, if the Russians use chemical weapons, we would not respond by using chemical weapons against the Russian people, right?
Correct.
So why does the president keep speaking out against U.S. policy?
Congressman, the president has made clear that he has not changed U.S. policy on regime change.
No, but why does he speak against it?
That he is appalled by the horrors, as I think we all are,
We're all
of
appalled.
what Russia is wreaking in Ukraine.
But how could it not confuse our allies and our fellow Americans to have the president saying the exact opposite of what you just correctly defined as U.S. policy?
My understanding from allies is that they value U.S. leadership. They are confident in American commitment to the NATO alliance, and in particular, the president's words that the United States will deter Russian attack against NATO and defend every inch of NATO territory.
That's all fascinating, but it doesn't get to the question of speaking directly against our policies. Does the Department of Defense assess that the president is likely going forward to speak against U.S. policy on other matters?
Congressman, I can't speak to that. I don't believe that there's any such assessment.
Maybe do we have a plan in place for the next moment, right? Because this didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice, it happened 3 times on like highly consequential stuff like regime change and chemical weapons and sending our service members into Ukraine. And so I sort of wonder whether or not we have to have contingency plans for a president who seems to be a little confused on those matters. And you're saying there is no such contingency plan?
I'm telling you, Congressman, that the Department of Defense leadership is focused on sustaining and advancing American national security policy of this administration.
Is the Department of Defense leadership frustrated by the president's statements against U.S. policy?
Congressman, I think that is an inappropriate characterization of
But it's
the
not a
Defense
characterization, it's a
Department's
question. I
commitment.
said, is the department leadership frustrated? I'm not characterizing. I'm trying to ascertain how hard this job must be to get our force posture aligned, to get our information operations that Mr. Giramendi asked about in line, when you've got a president who seems to be misaligned on these key questions.
Congressman, I can only speak for myself. I think it's appropriate, and you have the
Were
right
you
to ask the
frustrated?
question. And so, speaking for myself,
I'm sorry, but you can't badger the witness. If you ask a question, you got to give her at least 5 seconds to say something before you then interrupt. Please go ahead.
I am not frustrated. I feel privileged and honored to serve the American people and to serve this president and this administration.
Are you aware of any other officials at the department that are frustrated by the president's misstatements of policy?
I am not.
General Waller, hypersonic weapon systems have been used for the first time in this conflict, and the committee has received a number of briefings regarding how far behind our country is in some of these capabilities. How should EUCOM think about hypersonics really from a defensive capability, seeing what we've seen on the battlefield?
Congressman, that's a great question, and it's all about strategic speed and posture. And every day I've got to find a way to adjust our indications and warnings and adjust our command and control and feedback to accommodate not just a Mach 1 target, but a target that can operate at Mach 4.5. And if we're not doing this in 2022, we're getting way behind. So the efforts are there. We find out what the capabilities are. We find out what their locations are. We examine the different courses of action of where these systems can be utilized. And now we have to adjust fire with our IW systems and our ISR to make sure that we have the best probability of capturing a potential strike. And if we're not adjusting every second of the day, we're making a mistake. And it's a constant adjustment in EUCOM as well as SACEUR.
Speaking of those adjustments, because I only have a moment left, will we see an adjustment in the president's proposed budget or to accommodate our updated thinking about hypersonics now that we've seen them used in Europe?
Congressman, we will.
Very helpful. I yield back.